think, act, and prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show, where we think, act, and prosper. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Craig Perry, the CEO and chairman of Visa Copper. Visa Copper, and then Visa Silver. You founded it, and you still do some work there.
Yes, still chairman of Visa Silver.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite company.
That's amazing. So copper, right? Yep. There's a lot of hype around copper, mm-hmm. And there's a lot of concern around copper. So what are you saying in terms of like copper mining and that whole industry and how this plays a role in our energy transition?
Yeah, well, of course, copper is the biggest, most profound metal market on the planet. We're surrounded by it in this room. Of course, you need it for every element of life. It's about 22 million tonnes per annum market. And we're about to go through, I think, probably the biggest transformation in that market in terms of supply-demand dynamics that we've ever seen. You're going to see another demand for another 30%, 35%, so probably 7 or 8 million tonnes per annum. And then that's offset against the supply side that it's almost impossible to see where that copper will come from. So I think we're about to go through the most extraordinary boom that we've ever seen in any metal market ever, whereby you could see prices go up 10 times from here. You might see $30 or $40 per pound copper. I just can't, and the key reason being, none of us can see where this copper supply is going to come from. Mm-hmm. People talk about substitution, aluminium and those sorts of things, but we can't see it out there. It's just not there. So, what we're trying to do at Visa Copper is put our foot on as much copper, quality pounds in good jurisdictions as we can at the moment, while they're still cheap, because they won't be cheap for long.
Yeah. So I heard, I think it was Robert Freeland, he spoke last year. Yep. And it took him about 20 plus years to get a copper mine going because of like regulation and such. And so with that whole dynamic and the ambitious goals to transition fast, right? Yep. By 2040, a lot of these ambitious goals. How long does it take to even start a copper mine? I mean, that seems like that's going to be an issue down the line.
That's going to be a massive issue. I think, we went into this downturn we've been in, 11 years ago? Mm-hmm. And so that's meant that, you haven't seen enough exploration, you haven't seen enough studies done, you haven't seen projects advance through permitting. So that any sort of supply that could come on is going to take a long time. I would say from the point of discovery through to production nowadays, probably averages north of 15 years. So that sort of supply response, it's hard. And of course, permitting regimes have changed. We've seen more stringent environmental processes and policies applied to the industry. So very, very hard to see how, you could build a new mine if you were to discover the world's best copper deposit tomorrow. It's probably going to take you 15 years to get into production. So there's going to be this sweet spot for the next 10, 15 years whereby we won't be able to keep up with demand and prices are going to be enormous. And, just as an example, you see the copper price in the past 6 months, you've seen it go from about $3.50 all the way to $5.20. I'm calling that, joking around here, the Leonardo DiCaprio effect, because of course Leonardo was instrumental in having the Panama Cobre mine in Panama shut down, which took 400,000 tonnes of production out of the market. So it's a 22 million tonne per annum market. That's about 1.8% of supply taken out of the market. That was enough to drive the price of copper up 50%. So you can imagine at the back end of this decade when we're not short 400,000 tonnes, we're short 4, 5, 6 million tonnes, the impact that's going to have on the market. So we thank Leonardo for demonstrating market dynamics in the copper space to us.
Yeah, that sounds interesting for sure. So Visa Silver. So a lot of my audience, they do invest in silver. They buy a lot of silver. So obviously the stocks are different than holding the physical metal. But what is the benefit of owning the stock with Visa Silver and just silver stocks in general?
Well, the first thing, it's good to hear that your audience like to hold the metal. I think it's a great thing to do. Unfortunately, I don't hold enough myself. I sort of typically hold metal through the companies that I own. I'm a major shareholder of Visa Silver. I think eventually, once it's in production, I'd like to take some of that metal that we produce as dividends in ingots and bullion myself. But I like, the reason I don't invest so much in metal, I'm, like everyone, concerned about where the world's headed and some of the risks around the place. But as long as I'm in charge of the company and with the team that I've got, Mike Connett, the CEO there, fabulous guy, advancing the project solidly. Simon Smirlek, who's our COO there, very good at operating projects and advancing them through to production. So I know that metal will come out of the ground eventually. But the thing I really like about it is just the multiplier effect you can get from the investment as we take it, de-risk it and take it through those stages and on into development. It'll be, one of the world's great silver mines, probably, fourth or fifth biggest silver mine on the planet. So it's going to be producing a lot of metal, and I'll be taking a lot of that metal off the table and storing it in a vault myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. So we got another stacker right here. Stacker
Exactly.
Yeah. So where do you see the market headed for silver? We're above $30 an ounce now. We haven't reached that in a long time. So where are you seeing the silver market where we're at?
It's a little bit like copper to my mind. The dynamics are interesting though. It is about a 1.1 billion ounce per annum market. We're currently in undersupply by about 20%. Can't stay like that for too long. And of course, you do have secondary sources of silver, recycling, and then bullion coming back into the market. So that takes up some of that demand. But it's in dramatic undersupply at the moment. So I think we're going to, as an example, I was talking to a silver trader in Zurich back in February this year, and he said, well, Craig, silver will absolutely go to $100 an ounce this cycle, but the question is whether it goes to $200, $300, $400 an ounce. So I thought, well, that's music to my ears. I liken that deficit, that 20% gap between supply and demand, a little bit similar to what we saw in uranium back in 2005, because that was enough. That sort of supply-demand gap was enough to drive the uranium price from $10 a pound all the way to $160 a pound. Rick Rule, of course, he made one of his great fortunes out of that boom. I really expect that we'll see the same here. And there's some fabulous silver names. There's Aya Silver here, but my favourite pick, of course, is Visa Silver. We've got one of the world's great silver discoveries there. It's an entire district. It's going to be a massive, massive project. And it affords us the ability to build one of the world's great silver mines and build a major mining company around that. So I'm excited for that one.
That's good. Well, where can people find more about Visa Silver, Visa Copper, or connect with you? How can people find more about you?
Yeah, check out our website, so inventorcapital.ca, INVENTA capital.ca, or simply Google Visa Silver or Visa Copper and you'll come across the company.
Got it. Sounds good. Appreciate you for coming on, Greg.
Really appreciate it, mate.
Yes.